Chapter 5 Codename Max. Alexander Zaporozhky was a KGB colonel stationed in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, in the 1980s. He decided to volunteer his services to the CIA. According to an intelligence official, his motivation may be that he was overseas and not being paid much, and saw his career coming to an end. He may also have resented being stuck in a backwater in East Africa. More fortunate or well-connected colleagues might be sent to London, Paris, or Washington. There was no glitter in Addis. When a Soviet KGB agent contacted the CIA, often hoping to defect to a more pleasant life in the U.S., the agency usually tried to persuade the volunteer to remain as an agent in place, where he could be of continued use. Once he defected, arrived in the U.S., and was debriefed of whatever knowledge he had, he would be of lesser further value. Zaporozhky agreed to remain in place. The CIA gave him the code name Max. In these cases, typically the CIA would promise that after a period of time as an agent in place, the Russian could be flown to the U.S., where he would be resettled, given financial help, and if necessary, his identity changed. Over the years, Zaporozhky was in and out of touch with U.S. intelligence, the former official said. But after he volunteered in Addis Ababa, then he disappeared. Later in the 1980s, he was assigned to a presidential security unit in Moscow dealing with counterintelligence. On an official visit to the U.S., he and his delegation were at a motel in the Washington area, probably in Virginia. There he was ambushed by the agency. They showed up at the motel around 2 a.m., and he said, "You're going to get me killed. Let's not do this in the open. Come to my hotel room." So contact was reestablished with Max. 3 or 4 different agency officers dealt with him, and he would only provide valuable information to a couple of them. One he hated, and gave him a lot of useless information, which didn't help Max's reputation with U.S. intelligence. He wanted to be in complete control not only of methods of communication, but what he talked about. Zaporozhky identified David Shelton Boone of the National Security Agency as a Soviet source. Max had left the presidential unit and went back to Directorate K and figured out Boone's identity. Boone was an Army signals intelligence analyst assigned to NSA headquarters in Fort Meade, Maryland. In 1988, he walked into the Soviet embassy in Washington and volunteered his services as a spy. For 3 years, at an NSA listening station in Augsburg, Germany, Boone continued to pass the super-secret agency's secrets to the KGB. In a series of meetings along the Rhine with Igor, his KGB handler, he was paid $60,000. He married a German woman and remained in Germany. Although Max identified Boone, the FBI needed further evidence to arrest him. The Bureau called in Dmitry Druzhinsky, whose specialty was impersonating KGB officers. A gifted actor, Druzhinsky spoke Russian and 8 other languages. Over a 30-year FBI career, he had achieved remarkable success in persuading spy suspects to talk to him about their exploits for the KGB. As a result, many were convicted and sent to prison. He called Boone at his home in Germany. Posing as a KGB officer, he told Boone an airline ticket would be sent to him and a hotel room awaiting him in London. He said his people were interested in making contact with him again, and he would be paid. "I'm at your disposal," Boone replied. In London, the secrets Boone told Druzhinsky that he gave to the Russians included a top-secret NSA Signals Intelligence Directive 514, revealing the Soviet targets of U.S. nuclear weapons, and a 300-page J-10s manual, each page marked Top Secret Umbra, a designation above Top Secret, which served as a handbook of the entire U.S. spy satellite program. Boone agreed to meet Druzhinsky again at Dulles Airport, and the FBI was waiting in the hotel room. Boone's revelations in London were all on tape. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 24 years in prison. In the meantime, Max had gone to ground again. For 2 or 3 years, we heard nothing from Max, the former intelligence official said. He was still in place in 1993 when he provided the missing piece, the information that Jean Vertifeu's mole hunters needed to seal the fate of Aldrich Ames. Max said, "I don't know who the mole is, but his handler is going to Lima. Ames met his KGB handlers 3 times in Bogota. At the time, there were no direct flights from Moscow to Bogota. Passengers had to fly through Lima to get there. He had gone to Bogota ostensibly to visit his wife's family in Colombia." It was time to call in the FBI. In January, the CIA mole hunt team began briefing the Bureau. Ames was the chief suspect. There was no longer any doubt.